We all love catalysts. They can come from all different places. They can come from the Consumer Electronics Show. They can come from the JP Morgan Health Conference. They can come from analysts and they can come from companies themselves. But when they come from the President of the United States and after hours trading, there can be some wild price action. Not one sector, but two sectors. We need to look at that price action, the short and long term implications. Not much else. Earnings. We'll talk a couple earnings. A lot of ratings. Analysts still getting their work in this week. Special guest at 8:35. A little off topic of trading, but you guys that like the floor, I got a special treat for you. It's Thursday. It's pre-market prep, and we have one hell of a show lined up for you.
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation right chart.
You know what we've seen this. Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble. You're in trouble.
Okay, good morning, traders and investors. Welcome to the pre-market prep show. Week end of the day, it's followed through into the pre-market, down 14 handles, still up nicely on the year, 69.49 and a half. Let's take a look at the dollar trading in the green by not much, 98.54. TLT in the red, 21 cents at 87.45. USO a little bit on the rebound, up 72 cents at 68.51. GLD and SLV after some big days, both in the red. Boy, that SLV's been moving around. That's down almost 4%, 279, 68, 995, and GLD down by about 0.5%, 407.42. And Bitcoin futures, that trading range, trade the range until it stops. We hit 95K, back at 90K on the futures. Let's see here what is going on in TradeStation. TradeStation is born to trade, chart, analyze, customize, all in one platform.
I just popped in. What's going on? I snuck in on you.
Snuck in on me?
Yeah.
Do we have an echo?
No, I think we're good. I don't know what was happening with the intro. That was weird. So we'll figure out, I don't know if something was playing twice in the background, but it was it was weird. So the audio on the intro, but we'll figure that out in the background. Let's talk the Trump market here, because he was moving markets, not like he's never moved before, because he's always moved markets before, but it kind of felt like he was moving markets like back in April when he was moving markets. And Trumpster started coming in. We'll welcome the Brentster in here too, because the Brentster has some color for us as well.
Good.
It started
morning.
yesterday around 2 p.m. and he started talking about the defense contractors, about their high pay, their buybacks. Brentster, I know you have the truth. Maybe you can show it on screen here.
For sure.
Talked about, not allowing the defense contractors to do buybacks, not allowing them to do dividends. And here's the truth, talking about their pay packages being too high. And on this truth, which Joel, you can show the charts too, we'll kind of go back and forth. But the summary is that they're not producing the equipment he needs fast enough. So he's going to not allow them to do dividends and buybacks. And he's also going to cut execs pay. Nobody's going to be allowed to make more than $5 million. It was like, holy cow. That's like, a controlling thing here. And the market got scared about that. The overall market started selling off. But Lockheed Martin in itself got hammered on this. If you look at the move in Lockheed Martin yesterday, stock was down significantly. NOC down significantly. General Dynamics down significantly on this. And then after hours, he takes it a step farther and specifically calls out RTX and saying that if RTX cannot get, their crap together here, they're not going to be working for the Defense Department anymore. And RTX tanks 10 points on this news. Yeah, people are saying, what are you talking about, Danny? They're all up. This is what happened yesterday. Then, and another, because he just keeps talking, and another truth, he comes out and says that the defense budget is too low for the stuff that he wants to do, and he wants to raise it from $1 trillion to $1.5 trillion, just an extra $500 billion into defense. So all these stocks that got hit on the initial Trump truth, Lockheed Martin, NOC, General Dynamics, You know, and all these stocks, and turn around on a dime on this and then rip up to all-time highs. This is crazy, man. So Lockheed Martin is probably the best chart to show here, Joel. If you bring up LMT here, we're going to put your charts back here on the screen. I know we're bouncing around a lot. I just want to talk about the trading action in this. So adding your charts back to the screen here now. Well, RTX, you got lines all over the place here. But
yeah, dollar signs, baby.
these were crazy moves. So LMT tanks, just to resum, 40 points, goes down 40 points on the initial tweet that they're not going to be allowed to do stock buybacks and dividends, and then rises the whole thing of the 40 points right back because he's raising the defense budget up by $500 billion. Now, again, this is him just truthing. I'm not sure where this money's coming from. He's saying it's going to come from tariffs, but I don't know if this is actually going to be approved or if it is approved, but that's what he's proposing. He wants more money in defense. So we saw them tank on a truth. We saw them rise on a truth. I mean, somewhat caution here to the buyer because, you know, who knows what he truths next. But this is, you know, the president's market here now. He's really moving price. If you look at some interesting points to make here, though, so we talk about those ones. The stocks, the defense stocks that did not have dividends or buybacks, think about AVAV, think about Palantir, think about KTOS. Those stocks don't have dividends or buybacks. Those ones didn't fall. Those ones were the safe plays. And we actually talked about this in STN before. And then when they came out, obviously, with the $500 billion defense budget, those stocks all blast off. So if we're looking at Palantir this morning, it's up 4 points. KTOS, complete blast off, up 11% this morning. AVAV, which has been the monster, I'm still long that, the long-term account, up another 11% here this morning as well. So those stocks didn't have the sell-off, but they had the second move. So those stocks are just building on their moves here too. Like, you know, so this geopolitical situation is just so interesting. He's raising another $500 billion for more equipment to do more things. Denmark responds to the whole Trump taking over Greenland stuff yesterday. And they said that if the U.S. goes into Denmark or into Greenland, Denmark said they will shoot first and ask questions later. So I would say overall, this is an escalation once again in geopolitical risk and obviously
you would. You'd say that, huh?
The market says it too. So yeah. So like you look at AVAV, it was $240 before the Venezuelan invasion here. And now we're looking at 353 3 days later. These are huge, folks. Huge. So, you know, these are, you know, we have to talk about this stuff. Whether, you know, you're with Trump, you're against Trump, none of that matters. What matters is to us as traders is that he is moving price.
Oh, boy.
So, you know, let's just talk about these stocks for a second here. Some of the, you know, the ETFs that are moving this morning. And then we got to talk because he hammered the home builders too. So we'll get to that in a second. But right now we're back to the Trump market.
Woo!
Wow.
Nice work, Dennis.
Hey, yeah, Brett. We got a lot of different ways we can go here, Brett.
Yeah.
No, so ONDS is another one too. We didn't mention it. Smaller defense contractors. All the defense stocks are up significantly this morning. So let's just completely ignore what he said yesterday about no buybacks and no dividends, and execs only getting $5 million. What the stocks are caring about now is that, man, he is going to put a pile of money into defense, or is he at least going to ask for it? And all these stocks are the direct beneficiaries of that extra $500 billion if he gets it. And I mean, you could have somebody come out today, Congress, and say, this is not approved, you know, this, and then those stocks tank back down. So you got to watch the headlines here too, because we don't know what is approved, what is not approved, if this has already been discussed, or if this is just Trump going in and truthing and saying, I need more defense, you know, I need more money in this. We don't know that for sure, but, you know, let's go through those stocks one more time. Lockheed Martin. Joel, bring your charts back on the screen. We'll just quickly go through them because I want people to know the stocks to look at. So we're going to bring that back up here right now. Let's go to LMT. We don't have to talk the technicals. You can pick the technicals after. RTX. NOC, General Dynamics, L3 Harris, which is LHX. Don't forget the warships, HII.
Good one.
That's up 6% here this morning. Palantir, PLTR, nobody's going to forget about that one because it's loved in the retail community. And then the drone plays, like, talk AVAV, KTOS. Some of the smaller drone plays are moving. RCAT is moving here. UWMC is moving. These are all stocks that are moving off of this. These are all stocks that are now grouped together on this defense budget. And if we get a headline, and we're always just playing scenario analysis, if we get a headline that confirms the 500 billion, or it says, hey, whoa, we haven't approved any of this yet, that will change things as well. So just keep that in mind, that these stocks are in headline-driven markets right now. So, as traders, you always need to be prepared. That's what we try to do the most on this show, on Pre-Market Prep, is we are preparing you for what might occur and being prepared for those headlines, because headlines, folks, drive price. Headlines build the charts. So if you can predict headlines, you get ahead of the technical analysis. So it's unbelievable moves here. The ETF, one of the main ones for these stocks, ITA, that's a fairly thick one. There's some smaller ones. DFEN is pretty wild too. It's the levered one. But then, we had Kenny Glick, I believe, mentioning Jedi.
Yeah.
SHLD is another one. Some of these you got to watch, though. Some of them are a little bit thinner. So, slippage can be an issue in some of these things. ITA is pretty liquid here. Even in the pre-market, it's pretty liquid. But these are all the stocks that are just directly being impacted by all of these truths that Trump has went on the truth storm.
Dennis, what's that term you just used there, slippage? Can you explain that real quick?
So slippage is just the cost to enter and exit a trade. It's basically, you could call it the spread, but it could be more than the spread. If you're a big institution, slippage is going to be way more than the spread, because you can't get in and out of 100,000 shares of Boeing, at the bid or the offer. So basically slippage is where the price is currently trading and where I get the stock once I have as much stock as I want. Slippage isn't an issue for somebody who's buying 100 shares, or it's more the spread in that case. So it's pretty small. But if you're a big institution and you're saying, I want to buy 100,000 shares of Boeing today, you're going to move the price. Your orders are going to move the price up. It's just not that easy to buy 100,000 shares. So the slippage is when you started entering the market to when you're done. So let's say, if somebody's trying to come and buy 100,000 shares, they may have $1 of slippage if you're an institution. That's a slippage. That's what's the cost to get in and out of the trade, where obviously a retail investor has a huge edge because their slippage is really low. That's always the thing too. When you're investing into, mutual funds or investing, that is a significant cost to you that a lot of people don't consider. It's also a reason why some institutions have a hard time outperforming, because it's not easy to move in big money. Like, some of these aren't buying 100,000 shares. They might be buying 1 million shares.
Right.
So that, the slippage in itself could be 2%, 3%, 4%. Well, that could be a lot of the alpha that you're generating is just getting lost in slippage. Now, that's changed over the years. Institutions got smarter. They use iceberg orders. They use algorithms to slowly put these in. They try not to get detected by predatory high-frequency trading programs that will detect the buyer in the market and then start running it on them. So, that's a whole different market structure discussion, and probably, we can have that discussion further if you want to have it at a certain point in time. But, the whole thing is with slippage is, as an institution or even as a trader, it's never good to show your hand. Have you ever seen this? You put a bid in there and now the offer gets lifted and it's higher. Well, those are predatory programs that see you trying to buy the stock and they want to make you pay. So there are programs written just to try to make money off your slippage.
All right, a lot to digest here. But I think one distinction that I want to make, and Dennis said, is there's companies that were targeted and talked about, and with buybacks and dividends. Okay. There's defense stocks that don't have that too. So there's two buckets there, right? Of stocks.
Yes.
So you got to be cognizant of that. We're just going to go through the technicals, right? Just real quick. I'm going to go to RTX because he picked on RTX.
He did.
And then when the budget thing came back for RTX, I'm just going to concentrate on the bar from yesterday. And even though you traded higher in the pre-market, 193.79, that was the all-time high. All-time closing high, 190.40. Those are your levels for RTX.
Okay.
And then AV, I just want to do one for the drones. This looks strong, man. This looks still bid at the pre-market high. Pre-market high is 350. Oh, it's backed off a little bit. 356.50. I don't see any two highs in the, in the same area. I will just give you the next daily high to focus on. And that comes in. We're way up here, folks. You got to just look at the chart and say, hey, we are now back up in the area of 361.50. We have not been back there right here. This is where we're at. Just boom, 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 boom. All this and boom. Here
Back
is your
to it.
chance. What do
Yep.
you want to do? Buy, sell, or hold? You don't have to ask me what I do up here, but everyone trade at your own discretion.
I have trading decisions to make on this. So I have this in the long-term portfolio, but I also bought more for a swing trade back on December the 31st. Yes, 4 days ago. This is my best trade of the year so far. I think I'm up over 35% in it in 4 days. And, what do you do when you're up that much? I took part of the profit, so I sold half of my trading position. I didn't sell any of the long-term investment that I've been holding because I've had that for a while. I bought that back at 125, 2 years ago, I think. So I didn't sell any of that, but I did sell half of the trade here because, like you said, Joel, you had 35% in 4 days. It's time to ring the register a little bit here. But I mean, the fundamentals just set up well for all these defense stocks. It's what we were talking about yesterday on the STN, on the dip on all these. I was like, lots of me wants to come in here and just buy these dips blindly. And if you would have did that, like there's a few people that did do that, you would have killed it. But the fear was that he was going to follow through on all these dividends and buybacks. And what does that all mean? He may still do that. So there is more risk here now that they've rallied on this $500 billion proposed increase in spending, which I think will have trouble getting approved. I don't think it's just going to be like a slam dunk that all of a sudden, let's go, because he said he's made trillions of dollars worth of tariffs. There was an article that came out a couple weeks ago, and the number was closer to 200 billion. So now he's increased to 500 billion. And then we have the wild card here is tomorrow, which is a segue over to this too. We have the Supreme Court ruling tomorrow on tariffs. So let's just play scenario analysis here, because this is what we need to do on this show. If the Supreme Court votes down, if they say no to the tariffs and you got to pay all that money back, he's going to fight it. He's going to appeal it. But the initial knee-jerk reaction for these defense contractors is they're going to tank on this. So all of a sudden, we were talking about Nike benefiting, Lululemon benefiting if they get ruled down. If they get ruled down, these defense contractors like Lockheed Martin are going to get killed on that initial ruling, because that's where the money is supposed to be coming from for the $500 billion increase. So I don't know if anybody's made that point here, in the media here yet, but I'm making it here now. This ruling tomorrow very much matters for these defense contractors. So all this move of 5-10% on some of these could immediately be given back if that ruling, if the Supreme Court says you got to return all the money from the tariffs, we're not going to allow you to tariff anymore, because then they won't have the money to put into the defense. So if they say, they're cool, like the tariffs are cool, and we're going to let them go through, then they go up. Now, again, Trump will appeal this. Don't kid yourself. He's not just going to say, oh, Supreme Court wins and it's over. He's going to do everything he can to fight this and appeal this. I don't know who he's appealing to. It's the Supreme Court, but he will fight it. There's no doubt he will fight it. So, but this is a huge ruling now for those defense contractors tomorrow.
He wasn't just truthing about the Defense Department.
He's truthing about everything, Joel. Let's talk it.
Okay.
He's truthing also about the home builders yesterday. So the U.S., here's the next truth. For a very long time, buying and owning homes considered the pinnacle of the American dream. But he's talking about institutions, and this, I don't want to read it all because I don't want to waste our time reading all
right here. I'm going to highlight it, Dennis.
Do it. I'm immediately taking steps to ban large institutional investors from buying more single-family homes, and I will be calling on Congress to codify it. So means institutions not going to be allowed to go scoop up all these homes. Now, we saw immediate knee-jerk reactions for the home builders here. Lennar down, KB Homes down hard, PHM down, because, hey, if there's going to be less demand because institutions aren't buying homes now, it's not good for the home builders. Also, we saw a little bit of fall in some of the lumber. Lowe's was down. Home Depot had pulled down there as well. We also saw a pop in RKT, in UWMC. Also, Zillow got a little bit of a pop on this as well. Why? Because, well, they're retail sites where you're looking at, people trying to buy a home. this, maybe gets more action into those pockets where, obviously, financing for the home is done through, your refinancing done through our RKT or UWMC, Zillow, a site where you can go if you're a buyer of a home, a person, not an institution looking through, where they bring buyers and sellers together. So this was the knee-jerk reaction on this. I don't think there's going to be a huge reaction. There was also companies like Blackstone that really got hit on it. That symbol BX. That probably got hit the most.
Big institutional buyer.
Yeah, the institutional buyers of homes. If you look at Blackstone here, they invest in everything, and they definitely invest here as well.
BX is the ticker. And Dennis, that one might have even been moving like a split second before even the housing ones moved. I think that one moved like right away. And CC Legator. CC Legator on Options Unchained yesterday made a very interesting point. He was like, look at how Blackstone rebounded so quickly after that headline. It's because the stock was already down a bunch. Yeah. So CC, he's our options expert. He looked at the discrepancy between this truth and the defense spending truth. And he goes, nobody knew about this dividend buyback in the options market thing because they weren't pricing this in. This Blackstone thing, this housing thing, CC was like, it seems like options bettors knew something like this was coming. The stock was already down, which is very interesting.
That is interesting. And who knows what, people know. That's the one thing is like people joke Barron Trump, making all this money here in the stock market here. And we don't know if that's true. We don't know we don't have, any sites telling us this stuff. But I mean, we also don't know if Trump is talking about this stuff with other people before. We don't know who's connected on who knows some of these things. I mean, if you're buddies with Trump and you could just kill it right now. Or if you're Trump's son, you could. Now, we hope that's not happening, but we don't know that it's not. And we know this has happened. Obviously, we know the crony capitalism that's happened through Congress for years. So, I mean, it probably does happen. It's disappointing. But, so you're seeing some action in the options ahead of time. That's a red flag as well. Right. But, these moves are real, folks. These moves are, significant. The question is, are they knee-jerk reactions and are they buys? Like yesterday, the defense stocks were all buys on the knee-jerk reactions. So, is this Trump, to your point, you were saying, is this just art of the deal stuff here? Like, is it just Trump coming in and saying, trying to position himself?
Yes.
Like, I don't think so much with the 500, but with the whole first stuff, you were saying, and you made a great point with this, like, we're going to cut your dividends. We're going to, not allow you to do buybacks. We're going to cut your exec salaries there. Maybe that was a little bit, to your point, Brent, all art of the deal stuff and not, probably, really going to follow through on some of that stuff. Just saying, he wants obviously his machinery made faster. And, this is, one way to push you a little bit harder. Yeah. I think I agree with you on that. Yeah. And obviously they were all buys on the dip.
I want to just throw a couple other tickers in here that I don't think you mentioned, Dennis, but we see spillover like this when we have like extreme moments of like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy headline. Traders are like grasping for any kind of exposure. And we also saw lumber companies moving on this, like Weyerhaeuser, WY, also Builders, First Source, BLDR. We even saw a big shipper like Louisiana Pacific, LPX, moving on this, which I thought was,
wow.
That it would bleed that far over. It shows you how extreme of a reaction I think investors had for this headline.
I mean, this is where we're at, is we're back to now we've got to be following Truth Social very closely, following Donald Trump very closely.
There you go.
Because the stuff that he says is impacting markets, tremendously here right now. So the next truth, and maybe who knows what he's going to say next. I mean, how does you keep up with him? Like, when does he sleep? Like, he's doing so many things. You got to say one thing. Like everybody says, oh, he's just golfing. Hell, but he's saying and trying to do so many other things. Like, I don't know if I agree with that whatsoever. Like, we can say, think about Biden. Think about the extreme differences here, where you had Biden. We don't even know where he is for a month, and people were speculating he's dead, and he's just completely hidden from the media. And then you have this president that's sitting on his toilet, just truthing up a storm, whatever comes up. I mean, you love Trump or hate him. He's freaking transparent. He says exactly what he's thinking all the time. So, I mean, that's one good thing. I guess we have transparency here. The only thing bad about it is pure transparency. Like, just think about if you didn't have an internal voice, if you were just tweeting out your stuff all the time. Just think about this. Like everybody thinks crazy things sometimes. Everybody thinks stuff. But if you're just like putting it out on social media, like what I'm thinking all the time, I mean, they could come off like, wow, I'm scared of this guy. I'll tell you right now, the world is scared of Donald Trump. It's not just, it's Greenland. It's not just, certain countries here. The entire world is scared of what he might say next. And now you have businesses worried. What might he say next about my business, Brentster? Because we're looking at Louisiana Pacific getting hammered here now. Like it's just, it's just catching so many different stocks. It's back to like when it was tariff talk again. We don't know what he's going to tariff next.
It feels like
it was a crazy day.
Just from what we were doing in STN last night, I was like glued. I had to be glued to Trump because he was speaking right after all these truths all day. He was speaking in the Oval Office. He was signing an executive order. So I was like doing breaking news over here and then going over here to my other computer and having to like tune into Trump real quick. I think we are back to that market that we were in, a few months ago.
In April,
yeah.
Joel, you've been quiet in the background. Joel doesn't even want to get into the conversation. It's so scary to talk politically because when you say something, and I'm staying neutral here, I'm just saying love him or hate him. I'm trying to stay in the middle here. But people, like this is the most divided we've ever been, in North America and the U.S. as a country between the left and the right. I mean, it's just so divided. It's scary to talk about this
There's
stuff.
There's subdivisions within the each side too. I mean, yeah, that's I'll just kind of put a bow on this, and then we can move on to CES. A lot of it, the market was, he had some room to talk about it, right? Market at all-time highs, right? You could talk tough, and then if we have a big sell-off,
sure,
you could talk light. But 8:27, we have a guest at 8:35. We're gonna move on, and CES. We got all the headliners. We got a lot of action. We got a lot of moves here. Are we going to just digest now the information and move on to the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference?
CES is still happening in Vegas. There are still presentations happening today, but like all of the headliners, all of the keynotes are done after yesterday. So you are going to hear some updates from CES, but as far as like especially anticipatory, that was your angle on this, Dennis, the run up into CES. Well, CES is now more than halfway done. So is this trade, getting a little long in the tooth? I think so, but also didn't want to say that like CES is totally over. You could still hear updates today, but for the most part, we are kind of wrapped up. Winners and losers. Triple D, what do you think winners and losers here from CES?
Well, we got a clear loser as Tesla. I mean, it's moving down here. It's moved down 20 points since CES started, and there's a number of reasons for that. Is NVIDIA obviously talking about robo-taxis in 2028. Also, the robot, the humanoid that stole the show was Atlas. Everybody's talking about it. This is obviously Boston Dynamics owned by Hyundai. But, they kind of stole the show there, with what they were doing. They're already working in factories in Georgia. They're testing them down there. So, I mean, it seems at this point in time that Atlas and Boston Dynamics is obviously putting pressure, and maybe even in some cases getting ahead of Tesla. So I think the market is speaking. This isn't my opinion. I'm long Tesla stocks. I don't like this, but, I've got to talk, what I'm seeing in the price action. We're down 25 points on Tesla since CES started, and I think it's deserved. And then we get, a headline from Ford last night that they're going to get into autonomous cars. Ford also got upgraded by Piper here this morning, but that knocked Tesla down a little bit as well overnight here because competition's now coming from everywhere. And we're not seeing like we're advancing here. And obviously, it's cool. We've seen Robotaxi pop around, and and Optimus is looking really good too. But what we can clearly see now is Tesla's not going to be the only game in town. There's going to be a lot of other games, and CES really showed us that. With the humanoids there. Other winners, Serve Robotics. I've sold some of it into this pop, but I'm still long some of it here. Continues to go higher. They were featured there. Also, a winner I think is NVIDIA. The stock has been holding up well here. We've had a lot of stocks in Magnificent Seven, not doing that well, but NVIDIA is kind of holding up. And, does it get a hangover once the conference is done? Maybe, but just the thought process.
I want to stop you on the NVIDIA real quick here, Dennis, because it did just for price action. I like to do this a lot. I like to do reference price action. So the day that they presented was Monday, right? and they hit 193.63. They hit that peak. They were weak that day. They closed at 188.12. So you got the catalyst, you got the pop. You're still 4 points below that level. You're still above where it was on Friday. But and then you had two lower highs off that. So, great support at 186, just a bandit of support there. But if you looked at it, it's like sell the news when the guy was on the stage and everything was going on. Monday's price action kind of dictates that. So just wanted to point that out in NVIDIA.
Initial jobless claims coming out here, 208,000 versus 212,000. So light a little bit on initial jobless claims, but pretty much, pretty close to in line here. So not a crazy number. TLT, IWM slightly down. They've been slightly down here all morning. We did have a little reversal in the January effect trade yesterday. We've seen a lot of, the laggards and the value trades really coming on. Some of that came off a bit yesterday, but what has been really concerning here, and I want to talk it for a second, Joel, is Apple. Yeah. Apple has been down every day in January so far. Whoa. And we're talking about a 4-day turning into a 5-day losing streak here right now because it's down another 3 points. I mean, I posed the question, you posed it to me. What's going on here? Like, what's going on with Apple? Because this is going straight down here. It's been a very resilient stock, but, we've seen the Qs holding up fairly strong, going up. Apple's moving the opposite way here right now. I've said Apple can trade as a staple, and staples have been weak, so maybe it's the staple portion of it. XLP has been down in that same period, and then Coca-Cola and Procter & Gamble have been very weak. I mean, maybe the action is just the fact that Apple is now a staple, not a technology, and not as much valued as a technology company. And it's moving along with the staples again because XLP has been down for 3 or 4 days in a row too.
Also, if you talk about the January effect of selling winners, I mean, even though overall it wasn't like a super fantastic year for Apple when you look at the weekly chart from 2025, but if you look at the, the performance, after it got some Trump love, I mean, that was just a huge move from 170 over 280 going to 288.62, coming back down on the dailies. I mean, it hasn't stopped going down yet. It does have a pair of lows protecting a gap. The pair of lows are at 255.50, and then the gap fill is at 253.38. So if the bloodshed's going to stop here, we're down another 278 today. Maybe we just get a reset in this 253 to 255 area for Apple. But no, we're digging, we're looking, and really haven't been able to.
I think it's a staple, and you can really see that connection there. And I've argued for a long time that Apple's now a staple with a technology call option on it, and that's why it trades with a premium. But if you're just looking at it to the staples, you get Procter & Gamble. The thing is with the staples, they've come down a lot in their price to earnings ratios there. So if you want to look at the the main staples, be Procter & Gamble. Like that's the one you think about almost initially here. You're talking Procter & Gamble trading 20 times earnings. Coca-Cola, which is obviously another staple here, KO, just, doing the fun thing, 22 times earnings. And then you have Apple sitting up there at 34 times earnings. So, you've basically got the staple component of it with the call option on tech, because they really are an iPhone company. But, we know they could be working on some other things, and maybe, just maybe they're going to show us some innovation because we haven't had a hell of a lot of innovation out of Apple in a lot of years.
Okay. All right. Bradster, I see our guest in here looking a little bit early. So a little bit different here, folks. I'm going to introduce a buddy of mine from the floor, Dan Sullivan. All right. We are bringing Dan Sullivan onto the screen here. Dan, a former floor trader turned entrepreneur in the movie industry. I don't know how the hell you did that, but just talk a little. People love floor stories, and we're going to get into that more in a second. Just talk about the transition from screaming in the most competitive capital arena in the world to the movie business.
Oh, he's on mute. We got to figure this out.
Okay, Dan, let's
you must have your computer muted.
Go to the mic thing that we did before. Put them both on defaults.
Let's move Dan.
How about
Dan,
now, guys?
We got you.
Perfect.
All right.
Perfect. We got you now. Awesome.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. But that's a loaded question, Joel. I know there's only a specific amount of time here. I started on the floor when I was 18, 19 years old on the Philly. Basically worked on the CBOA Board of Trade, Chicago Stock Exchange. Kind of traded everything in from ags to options to futures. And about 4 years ago, it just thought to myself, hey, I think it's time to bring this crazy world that we lived in to the big and little screen. And now I'll jump 4 years and I've got like probably 6, 7 IPs. I've gotten maybe, not maybe, but 2 or 3 films, actually 2 3/4 films in script form. I've got a couple TV series, a reality show, and a docu-series. So right now I'm pretty busy putting this all together, and hopefully I'll be able to get it on both screens, big and little.
All right,
So-
let's just start here with a little bit of a preview of what he's working on here, and
this, I'll tell you really quick. This is the docu-series called The Floor CBOT.
For over a century, the Chicago Board of Trade stood as the unyielding backbone of the world's economy. Billions flowed through its halls, fortunes forged in the heat of the moment, deals sealed in the blink of an eye. It was a temple of capitalism, the throbbing heart of global markets. But nothing compared to life back then. Traders lived large, betting their empires on a whim, partying with the same reckless fire they brought to the floor. Hair as wild as egos, nights as unbridled as the pits themselves. Yet beneath the roar, a shadow world unfolded, one the history books dare not touch. Sex, corruption, drugs. Cocaine was the trader's elixir, the sharp-edged focus pill of its era, fueling minds in a game where seconds spelled millions. Then, in 1986, it all shattered. The FBI cracked open one of America's greatest white-collar scandals. Bucket shops, hidden wires, infiltrations deep in the pits, revenge trades to bury rivals, hedge funds fleecing the public for millions. The fallout? Cataclysmic. It scorched the myth of the American dream. One day, you owned the world. Money, power, the thrill of the fast lane. The next, ruined, handcuffed, or rotting behind bars. These aren't whispers or myths. They're raw truths, pulled straight from those who lived the highs and survived the crash. Welcome to the floor.
Cool.
Okay, I
Wow.
wasn't in. What you say, Dennis?
Okay, guys, I just want to really put this on record that sizzle, so that's what it's called. That's made for the streamers and the networks. You have to get their attention. So, again, it's not just about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's just,
You're gonna have some good trades ideas for us in there too.
So that's all. I've gotten some comments about that video, and it's just that they don't understand the entertainment industry. You need to get their attention,
Sure.
But there's just so many different ways this can go. And as of today, I've got one of the top showrunners in the unscripted space that's attached to this to the docu-series that can
What's
walk
that?
into the.
What's that, Daniel? The
Oh, I'm sorry. A showrunner is basically someone that takes an idea like this, and it's like takes a show and runs with it, and they run to it to the Netflixes of the world, the networks. And this woman has done a lot of docuseries and documentaries in the past, and she just can get in the doors to the right people for the streamers. So she loves the idea. She just thinks this is perfect for what they're looking for, because just non-political, extremely anxiety and I'm trying to think of the other word, but just exciting for viewers to watch.
Well, and this is how they've spun these movies in the past. Like you think about the GameStop movie, and you think about, like you've got the story, and we know the trading side of it, and that's one thing. But they've got to color it with all the other excitement things, because we know on pre-market prep, I mean, if we just talk stocks, the masses, aren't interested in just seeing charts and talking stock and trades. They want the stories behind it all. You think about the rooms like Boiler Room and Wall Street, and all the successful movies. They've got the really good story and the different angles and all the other stuff you're talking about it, because that attracts the masses more than anything. So I think that's, you're going the right way with that angle here, because maybe that's what we should do on pre-market prep. Just talk about all this other stuff's happening, and then we can get the masses in here, and we'd really get a lot of listeners. Right now, all we get is a bunch of people looking for stock tips.
Dennis, it's right now, and again, you guys know this better than I do. Day trading is exploding. It's mainstream now. So, a docuseries like this will attract just, from Gen Zs to baby boomers. It'll cover it all, because it's about trading. And I don't know, I bet you Joel's had this question asked many times, like, how did you guys do that? How do you do that for 8 hours out of the day? It's really a different world from sitting at a desk upstairs where there's complete silence to something, that chaotic. And you had to make a living doing it that way every day. And then everything that was involved, not just the trading, but everything that was else involved on the floor. It was, again, I've done this comparison to the younger generation, and they've never heard this movie before, but it's almost like Animal House. It was Animal House, but it was trading and working. We were adults, but we were acting like kids half the time.
Oh, I can attest to that. So Dan, we got a few minutes left here.
Okay.
And I asked you for a good floor story, and we only had 28 minutes left in the conversation. You got to give me one, and so far you haven't swore. We talked about that, swearing. Give me one, and we are gonna leave out, something that might offend somebody. But give us if you give us a good floor story, we may have you back again.
Oh, now that's a lot of pressure, man. I mean, I've heard 1,000. I had my own podcast, and I gave, it's for me personally. My first day, I was 18, didn't go to college. I went to the Philly floor. My father was working on the Philadelphia Stock Exchange at the time. My two brothers on the option floor. Again, 18, 19 years old. After a week of making $50 a week being a runner, my boss came up to me and gave me about 100 Quaaludes in a bag. And he said, "Here, give this to your brother." And that was my introduction to, I am so not kidding. I don't know. I bet you 3/4 of the audience probably doesn't even know what a Quaalude is. Hey, you asked me for a story. I'm giving it to you.
Wolf of Wall Street, for real. So you're telling me that wasn't made up in the Wolf of Wall Street? That was real.
I'm telling you right now. When I was given that bag, I remember being on the train going home, going, I think I could hang.
Oh, man. Okay. That wasn't the one I was looking for.
I know, but you asked me.
Okay. Hey, open mouth, insert foot. Okay.
Hey, guys, I don't think I'll be back on again. But
no. Okay. Dan, I want to tell you a couple things. The chat is buzzing. By that intro. That tells you about our audience here. We are an aggressive audience. So Dan he's working. I'm gonna swear. He's working his ass off on this. Okay. And if you want to hear more about the project, I'm going to put his email in there, and make sure you have a block of time, and he can tell you he's working on a lot of stuff here. And I just wanted to bring you to our audience. They love floor stories. Dan, we want to hear about your progress, and you got some fans here on Pre-Market Prep. So there he is. Dan Sullivan. We'll be seeing those names and lights and at the Emmys. And if you go to it's the Emmys for movies, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Oscars.
Excuse me. The Oscars. So Okay,
we
pal.
want to mention up there on the screen when he won an
Guys,
Oscar
let me just
for
say
this.
to your audience, I also have a reality show called The Day Trader and the film called The Opening Bell. So if anybody has any interest in
Cool.
discussing, I'd be more than happy to talk to them.
Is there a website they can go to see more about this? Is there a website?
I do have one. It's Mogator Media Capital, MogatorMediaCapital.com.
Behind you. It's behind you, I think, on your.
Yeah, that's there you go. And then my podcast was Pencils with Erasers, but I haven't done a podcast in a few months.
Awesome.
Okay. All right.
Hey guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
That was
Joel,
fun. That was fun.
I hope the story was a little.
No, that's
good.
okay. There were some other ones you could have told that you didn't. So
we'll run another segment, Offside Floor Stories, we'll call it. And we'll just bring you on to talk for 2 hours.
He's going to bring me some floor gas. He promised in return for this.
Oh,
so.
absolutely. In a heartbeat.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Thanks,
guys.
Dan.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you. It was fun.
I liked it.
I would
Chat
watch
liked it.
I would watch it. If he gets that all and he gets this series on Netflix, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
It looks fun.
I know that guy.
Yeah,
They say,
a
"Hey,
good
we
guess.
remember
People are
you on
saying,
PreMarket Prep
actually,
when he was-
I
when he was
did.
making this series and pitching it to Netflix.
I found
Netflix
my
picked
floor
that up.
badge. I found it. Lisa did the we got to clean the crap out of this, these drawers. And I went to it and I found that along with my University of Michigan ID card.
Where is it?
Oh,
Where's
nice.
Your
So
badge?
yeah,
Show it.
let's see. Yeah.
Do you want me to run upstairs?
Yes.
I mean,
I can talk stocks for 20 minutes.
You can talk. Dennis,
They're
Brad-
giving me crap. They told me I talked
Brad,
too much.
play some music or something because I know Dennis can't carry the show for a couple minutes.
Never. Silence has come over the crowd. What are we going to talk about, Brad?
Oh,
I don't
my
know
gosh.
what to talk about. There's so many things to talk about. Costco. Maybe we
you
should
want to
just
talk about Costco? Let's do Costco.
can
We don't
talk
have
Costco.
charts
Give me
now,
those
but
numbers there because it's popping here this morning. January effect back again. COSC.
Costco reporting December sales. This is a monthly data point that Costco has been putting out for quite some time. Their net sales were just under 30 billion for the month of December alone. That was up 9%. Of course, I say in the STN room last night, oh, this news item hasn't been moving Costco shares in quite a few months. And then, of course, the street loves this number, and the stock is up $20 here today about.
Yeah, it's up big. And again, I think January effect here as well. We're talking about leaders to laggards, laggards to leaders. Costco had a really tough year.
Yeah.
And look, bottomed here. Basically, December, the first day of January, which we were talking about was the Friday, and a lot of traders not back in, actually went down.
Sure.
But since then, we've been straight up. So we bottomed at 852 on the first day of January, and we've been straight up ever since, and now we're $900. So Costco's up about 7% the last 4 trading days here. So January effect very pronounced here as well. So I think that helps it too. I mean, news, and we could just talk this for a second until Joel's back shows back. But news, wants to be heard by the market too. Sometimes the technical's set up, and then you get a positive headline, and then that can really drive price. Where you have a stock that just wants to go down, we'll ignore the positive headline or the faders are there. So the charts do matter in that context as well. We say news builds the charts, but sometimes the charts can help the news to move as well. And I think the Costco life that it was showing a few days before these numbers really helps to spark it. I mean, people were short, they're caught, the turn is here, momentum traders are getting interested. Lots of reasons why the Costco, moves on the sales all of a sudden. Joel, let's see this badge.
Okay, well, first of all, that's my U of M ID card. From
Okay, that's not that exciting.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so this was my badge on the floor.
There you go. Look at him. Look at the hair. Zoom in on that.
Oh my God.
Look at that hair. That's Mr. Elconin.
Handsome lad there.
Yeah.
What happened, Joel? What happened to you?
What do you mean? I had that funk curl around the back
Wait,
off the collar, man. I was a styling dude back
Go again. I want to see again one more time.
Okay, I just have to come.
Wow, the hair. Rasta Rebel says, handsome young man.
He was. Look at that guy.
That's pretty funny, Joel. Who the hell is that?
Right there. Lisa fell in love with that guy right there. That's it. That's the pick right there.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing, Joel. That's cool.
Yeah. And I asked Dan if he had his old trading jacket, and he's like, "Oh, I can't find it." And I'm like, "Get your ass out in the garage and find it." But
yeah, I know. Where are those trading jackets on the floor? Yeah, those are great. Do you have your jacket, or your jacket's gone?
No. And you know what? I just think about it now. I wore a red jacket. Oh God.
Red is
Yeah,
not your color.
the locals had to wear red. Some people like the cow guy, he had his own coat, you know. But I never got my my own
The
coat.
the locals had to wear red. People that lived in Chicago had to wear red. Is that what
Well,
you're
the
saying?
locals were the people on the floor that weren't order fillers. So you either
You
had
just
to
taught
wear
me that.
red or you'll get your own jacket designed.
Oh,
Okay,
Interesting.
little
stop. We are
factoid there too.
tangent. This is tangent Thursday.
okay, that was good.
APLT, Brentster.
Yes.
We're going to get Joel's charts back on the screen. Brentster's going to give us the APLD earnings because this one was good, and then it tanked, and then it came all the way back. So wild trading action on APLD. It's never easy here. What were the numbers?
I thought the report was solid. They reported break even. That means 0-0 in earnings. Analysts were expecting a loss closer to 20 cents. So let's call it a 20-cent beat. Sales blew it out of the water, almost 130 million. Analysts were looking for around 90 million. They beat by almost $40 million for APLD. As you said, stock initially popped and then was met with a little profit taking after hours last night.
Yeah, so it pops $2, then it tanks $3, and then just slow, steady climb here all night and all morning to get all those losses back. So the initial reaction, I guess, was right, but man, the shakeout was vicious on APLD there too. This is moving some of your data server stocks here as well. Here, Brentster.
Yep.
Like you think about Nebius, it kind of moving on this. IREN. CoreWeave, CRWs
Cypher.
are bouncing around on this, CIFR.
Yep.
So you do have some of the other stocks moving here on this APLD report as well. So keep an eye on APLD. It's been wild all after hours, so it could be wild in the regular session as well.
Yeah, I'm looking. I think there's a real easy set. Well, no setups are easy in this market, but
No.
what I'd like to look at here is I'm just looking at yesterday's price action. I'm throwing out the high and throwing out the low, just like in diving competitions. And yesterday's high was 31.46. Backed off, closed a little bit weak, but it's one of those charts where you want to see, instead of looking left and saying, oh, this is going to do, you want to look right. And if this is going to be a bullish day, it's going to open up and just take out this high and make this high the low of the day and then work its way back up, whatever the pre-market high. But that how many times do you see that formation, where stock opens up at the previous day's high, or, and holds it at, because the close is way down at 29.26. So bulls off the hop, they got to say, I'm willing to buy this at 31.40, 31.50. I'm willing to take it up. Not much in there after that.
We do have the Hive overlay on. If you don't mind pulling up the Hive chart, please, Joel. I want to say thanks to our wonderful sponsor, Hive Digital Technologies, a global leader in green power data centers for Bitcoin mining, high performance computing, and AI. They were on track to capture 3% of the world's Bitcoin production by the end of last year. We are standing by from an update from Hive. On that, they gave an update, I think in like September or October, that said they had hit 2% of that production target. There is a QR code in the bottom right corner of the screen. You can scan that to go over to Hive's website, hivedigitaltechnologies.com. There's also a link in the description of this YouTube video. Thanks again to Hive Digital Technologies.
We do have some ratings here, but chat talking crow trades, and I do see this headline. This was from 8 o'clock this morning. Small stock FLYX is flying here this morning. Here, bring this one up here, Joel. They're going to become an authorized Starlink dealer for aviation connectivity here. And if we look FLYX, which was sitting down and doing nothing here for the longest period of time, is getting a huge lift. So, you get a little bit of mention here with Starlink, a little bit of mention with Elon Musk, and boom, off to the races you go. And this looks like it's your penny stock of the day that's going to be flying here this morning. These things are tough to trade, though, because we like to analyze, but I mean, sometimes they keep going. There's usually a rug pull eventually, but where that happens from. But a huge move here in FLYX, as you can see on the chart on the left.
Yeah, nice confluence here. We're just going to keep it easy. This spike high that you had right here, I will highlight it for you. going back, not sure what the news was on that day back in September. You hit 690. Right now, you're at 683. So just hit a pre-market high of 7. Sellers, buyers there, we don't know. I just keep an eye, $7, and this is a reverse split stock. So I'm not even going to go into the other levels on this, but has the momentum, FLYX.
I'm looking at the press release here that hit right at 8 a.m. And the thing with contracts M&A that I always like to highlight is you need terms for a deal. The press release here is announcing that the company will become a certified dealer and installer for Starlink's connectivity system. There are no terms disclosed in this deal. That means at this time, this is not material for Fly Exclusive's operations. Does that mean that it will become material and then we'll have to disclose a contract value? Yes, that's what it could mean, but it just a little heads up there on that.
Yeah, maybe jumping the gun. They're probably so excited that they get out there, and like want to get the headline out there.
Yeah.
Obviously, the headline's driving the price.
I mean, you get a mention of Starlink. I mean, the algos are going to react. Yeah.
I mean, and this is going to be, the year SpaceX, we believe, is going to be IPOing, obviously, here. So, if you get Starlink, SpaceX, any of these mentions here, that's going to move these smaller stocks.
Exactly.
So, the algos go nuts on this trade, 21 million shares, and it's really popping. Ratings galore here. We said this is one of the biggest weeks for ratings. We are not being disappointed because there is a pile of them here right now. We could start with the big one, Google. That's getting upgraded at Cantor Fitzgerald here this morning. Is trading up $4. Google just been quietly climbing its way back. Middle of December, we had the pullback from 320 down to under $300. Well, we're back here and we're trading at all-time highs here right now here, Joel. The little rounding bottom, it looks like it's kind of ready to rock and break out to me too. I wouldn't fade this one. So if we're rating the ratings, which we're going to be starting the new section, rating the ratings, I kind of like this upgrade by Cantor Fitzgerald.
Haven't quite hit the all-time high, so I'll just stick with one number. November 25th, he hit an all-time high of 328.67 and posted the all-time closing high that day as well at 23.63.
We got the autos all getting upgraded. Piper upgrading Ford, upgrading GM, and upgrading Stellantis, STLA. All those stocks trading. Well, STLA is trading down. It trades as an ADR, and I don't know over in Europe if they care about the Piper upgrade or not. But they do over here. General Motors trading up 55 cents and Ford trading up about 0.44%. Also, Ford had that news about yesterday, which was broke about, getting into autonomous EVs in 2028. So, a little bit further on the way out there, but looking to be, trying to compete obviously with Tesla there as well. So Ford, GM, what do you think here? I mean, we look at the Ford chart, like General Motors ran. General Motors had an incredible run here. I mean, Stellantis really hasn't run like that. And Ford has kind of just been stuck in the mud. Is there a Ford catch-up trade here? Full disclosure, I'm along a little bit of Ford.
Well, just real quick for GM, you got a double top ahead of the all-time high, which you haven't reached yet. So the split to two highs from the last two sessions, 82.70, 82.80. That's your Ford, your GM level. Your Ford, okay. So we'll do a little story here. Okay, so Ford, this is the day that they came out and said we're going to take a $19 billion charge. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, they traded over 14 in the pre-market. And I'm thinking, man, there is probably some paper at 14 that wants out, right? And lo and behold, that day, what was the high? I don't even think it got 14. The high freak stood in front of it. You made a $13.99 high. How many times have you seen that? And then you pull back. I was looking for a little bit more of a pullback to the nice round number of 13. But the bulls stepped up ahead of 13. We turned north. I'm going to go to a longer term chart. And if Ford can break out over $14, I think he got some room. But right now,
your number.
Yep, that's your number. Yep.
Guilty until proven innocent. I can see, there's a lot of size up there. Even in the pre-market book, there's 90,000 at $13.99. So somebody's sitting in front of the $14, which is probably just loaded right up. So that's your huge level here. Through 14, it would be a breakout, and I think I'm with you there, Joel.
Okay.
Do the old Kenny Glick 14 will get you 15. So I like it through 14, and I think that's the play. Is maybe you wait until it actually gets through 14.
Okay.
So we'll say guilty until proven innocent here. Continuing on the ratings parade, We can just mention a bunch of them if you can stop me wherever you want. Merck catches an upgrade at Wolf. That's a little bit of a chasing upgrade because Merck has been running here now. Snowflake upgraded Argus. There's a bit of a contrarian one. Snowflake's been a laggard, but again, maybe stop at Snowflake here because we got the whole thing again. Leaders to laggards, laggards to leaders. And if we look, January, we bottomed here on Snowflake 213 first day of January. Straight up since then, 4 days in a row. So clear laggard effect here. Snowflake wasn't a great stock. You know, it was okay through 2025, but no, it wasn't a great stock in the last quarter. So some people sitting on some losses, 270, 260, 250. The stock dropped about 25% in the last 2 months. So now a little bit of a relief rally, January effect here happening. Snowflake starting to look up. What are your thoughts technically?
Thin,
SNOW?
very thin, very thin. I mean, above here. I mean, pick your poison.
Kind of opens up.
Yeah, I couldn't give you. If I said then, the next daily high comes in at 244.14. That's all you got. Then you had the gap down day here. So coming back on the downside, if you can come back down to the close, you're really not even at a gap fill. This is a good one again. This is a good one for the exercise. Are they just going to take this up? Are they going to hold the previous day's high? And it's one of these charts like this. So keep an eye on the open. Let's see if it could stay strong. And that actually is pretty close to the previous day's high too. So there's a potential setup for you in Snowflake.
Minute left. Roku up at Evercore. Shop up at Scotia, which goes the opposite from what Shopify had the other day. The Gap, GAP up at UBS to buy. Coinbase up at B of A, and then Alcoa got downgraded to underweight at JP Morgan. Those are the main ratings. There's like 50 of them, so we can't go through them all. If you have any specific ones, we can talk those over in the STN think tank, which we're heading over to right now.
What do you got? Brad's got some breaking news for us.
Peace Guy says they are, where did it go? Peace Guy reaffirms commitment to delivering superior $30 per share all cash offer to Warner Brothers Discovery. WBD shares are moving lower on this. The saga. I like that.
The saga continues, and it's going to continue forever because whoever the hell buys this is going to have antitrust issues too. So this is all just like, we're going to hear about this for, I think, years yet. Because somebody's going to win,
yeah,
and then there's going to be antitrust, especially if it's Netflix. They're probably going to be fighting it. And,
yep.
I just think this is just something we're going to hear about for a long time. So I'm so sick of hearing just somebody win the bid, and then we can start talking about antitrust issues here. But if I was long WBD, I don't think you're getting this $35 payday here. And I also think like there's going to be antitrust issues here too. So, maybe it can pop. Maybe you do get a $35 payday in the end, but you're going to work for it. It isn't going to happen tomorrow.
Okay, we rounded off the lows here. Still down 8.5, way off the pre-market low. So holding steady here in a mixed market. Let's go over to the think tank and get ready for this exciting open here on this Thursday, January